Black Rock Mountain State Park is located in the northeast corner of Georgia, about 2 hours from Atlanta and 20 miles from Highlands, North Carolina. It's considered the highest state park in all of Georgia, and judging by the looks of it, you would expect some amazing views from the campground, right? Well, not so fast, Billy Ray. While it's true the altitude reaches 3,640 feet at the highest point, the views, which are the selling point, aren't actually views from the campground or campsites, but 3 or 4 overlooks that range up to 1.5 miles away from the campground. When you arrive, it's an easy check-in process. You'll see plenty of bear warning signs throughout the campground, just FYI. We paid $77.76 to stay for 2 nights in late June 2023, plus a $5 park fee. After checking in, we headed towards site number 34, and just a heads up, all of the speed bumps are angled, which makes them pretty rough to go over. We easily backed into our site, which was at the rear of the campground and just one side away from the bathhouse. All of the sites are 100% gravel, none of them are paved, and include a picnic table as well as fire pit. Wood is for sale at the office, however we brought our own. The site grade was about 4 inches off, so we leveled using a couple planks. It is a very dog-friendly park, and there were plenty of dogs around when we visited. We used 30 amp electric, and the power tested good. We did not use the water, but it was available. Let's talk about the sites overall. This is the most inconsistent campground maybe that I've ever stayed at as far as site standards go. Some sites seem to barely fit a vehicle on them, requiring guests to park their vehicle sideways. Some had fire pits, whereas others had fireplaces. Some had tough angles at which to navigate your RV into. Some were 25 feet deep, while others were 60 feet deep. The one thing they all had in common, though, was that they were on top of each other. Look how deep this site is compared to its neighbors. Now, this might be for a big rig, true, but when you see how narrow the roads are, I can't imagine getting a big rig back in here. We didn't see any in the rear of the campground. Fortunately, we had a great neighbor and had some good conversations, but imagine being this close to someone who is loud, plays YouTube videos nonstop on their phone, or likes to talk politics. I prefer a wee bit of privacy. Our neighbors are pretty much on top of us here, and we're on top of the neighbors down here as well. But it's so close to the trees, they can't even put their awning out. When they come home, they're not here right now, when they come home, boy, we'll just be staring at each other, I guess. Now look at this view. This is a drone shot from a few hundred feet up. This is what surrounds the campsite, but you can't actually get a view anything like it from any of the sites as far as I could tell. There are a few overlooks within walking distance depending on your fitness level. The sunrises and sunsets are pretty good from those overlooks. To reach the closest one, we had to walk this very narrow road only to get a minimal view of the mountains. This shot gives you an idea of how narrow the roads are. If a vehicle came by and you were pushing a stroller or had young children with you, good luck. If you're willing to walk a little further, you'll pass 3 more overlooks. The furthest one being at the Visitor Center, nearly 1.5 miles from the campsite, and it's an all uphill walk on a pretty steep road. Before reaching the top is lookout number 3. Which affords you a better view than the one closest to the campground, maybe, but it's still obstructed, so you can only see the tips of the mountains. You can also drive to these lookouts, but it's hard not to compare this campground to the Mile High campground in North Carolina, which has excellent views directly from your campsite. Keep on walking uphill and you'll reach a shelter as well as a playground. Yes, the playground is a full 1.5 miles from the campsites and is a pretty minimal playground. Still, we took the time to rock out for a few seconds. At the top of the hill, you'll reach the visitor center where you can buy merch like t-shirts, walking sticks, state park pins, stuffed animals, etc. There are also a few animal exhibits. This is also the biggest overlook by far. You'll see the town of Clayton, Georgia below. This is downtown Clayton, Georgia. Everything is closed right now, but look at this world famous Clayton Cafe over here, huh? That's pretty sweet. Lots of little shops. We'll point some of them out to you. It's the Cage-Free Boutique. Now let's talk shitters. Welcome to the men's room. It was very clean, but with a few crawlies here and there. Hand dryers, a couple stalls, 1 urinal, 2 showers with shower curtains. Minimal natural light came through the windows. Trash was never full here. My wife and I agreed the water pressure was weak. The shower stalls were pretty different from one another, but both were fully functional. There was also a laundry facility attached to the bathrooms, but we did not use it. Near the check-in and store was an amphitheater that could probably use some TLC. And there was this thing. I suppose we're looking at a cove or something completely covered by foliage. This is attached to the deck of what appears to be an event space, maybe for some serious bingo, I'm not sure. Also not far from camp, but not really within walking distance, is Black Rock Lake. It's a 0.85 mile walk around the lake, and especially on a foggy morning, is not too shabby. Some people were fishing in the lake when we visited, and our dog went for a swim. If you're a photographer, you may get some good shots here at sunrise or sunset. Now I want to show you 2 cool things we learned on this camping trip. This is a manual wood splitter, which was easy to use and cut some of the logs into good kindling with just a couple whacks of a large hammer. It's about $60 to $120 on Amazon, depending on which kind you get. Some are better than others. And if you get a hand blower like this one from Rigid Tools, you can turn embers into strong flame in just seconds. Thank you to my camping neighbors for demonstrating and letting me borrow. I promptly bought one of each as soon as I got home. Now here's the bad news. We wouldn't stay here again. There weren't enough positive things about it to offset how close the sites were to each other. with no privacy at all. The best thing about this campground are the things outside the campground, like hiking, the Overlooks, going into town to eat or shop, walk, or the nearby art festival in Highlands. It doesn't feel like the great outdoors if it also feels like you're in an apartment complex. It's not the worst campground of all time, but it just doesn't draw us back in to want to go there again. I hope you enjoyed this review, and we'll talk to you again on the next one. Safe travels.